Chapter 37. Pure Blood.
Anthony, this boy is too stubborn. It's been a week and he's not eating or drinking anything we give him. It's only because he's such a powerful wolf is he still alive, Mantis mumbled.
Then force him. Are you telling me he will die of hunger and I will lose my chance at fulfilling my dream? That's ridiculous, Anthony growled.
Raphael gets aggressive if someone even approaches him. All he did initially was keep looking for ways to escape, and now it's as if he's given up that thought as well. He's waiting to die or something, Mantis informed.
What else does he want? Find out. He must understand that there is no escape, Anthony ordered.
I will try one more time, Mantis whispered.
Mantis walked through the corridor and stopped near the empty frame. Anthony had kept it vacant for years for his Luna. Finally, the time seemed to have arrived. She sighed, and she walked to the room where Raphael was being kept. He wasn't locked up or chained. He was free to move anywhere he wanted inside the underground mansion. First few days, Raphael searched every place he could go, but when he could find nothing significant, he confined himself to his room.
Raphael,
Mantis called to him, putting a plate of food beside him. I'm not eating that, Raphael said in a low voice. He was weak.
Look how fragile you've become, Mantis stressed.
Why do you want me strong? So that you can give me that pill and make me a puppet? Raphael looked at her with a death glare. Mantis frowned. Despite being so weak, his wolf was still powerful. Raphael hissed and looked at the other side.
Eat it so you have the strength to escape when the time comes,
Mantis tried to reason, but Raphael scoffed.
What do you want to know?
Mantis asked him directly. Will you tell me the truth? You are just his puppet, Raphael sneered.
Get up. We're going out.
Mantis spoke a little loudly to stress the word. Raphael's eyes flickered at that. It had been days since he had seen the sunlight. The air inside this place was troubling him. He felt like they spied on him. So outside seemed like a miracle. He didn't fuss. He got up quickly and walked sloppily behind Mantis.
You should have at least drank the juice. If you walk like this, it'll be tomorrow before we make it out,
Mantis chuckled. Raphael didn't reply to her, but kept following her, trying to think of a way out. At first he tried to know more about Anthony, but he couldn't figure out anything. After that day, even Anthony wouldn't meet him. It was only Mantis who came here, and then to check on him. But most of the time it was random wolves who dropped by to give him food. They were already in a restricted section. He'd walked by that door several times, but he had missed its presence every time. This place was like a maze. Too easy to get lost and too ambitious to get out. Soon Mantis stopped in front of a gigantic wall, but if one would look at it properly, they could see that it was a large door. Mantis recited the same thing that she had on the day Anthony had brought him here for the first time.
Apparire ostium occultatum. Apparire ostitum occultatum. Apparire ostitum occultatum.
The large door became more prominent by the time the spell ended. Few golden lines ran across the door before a knob appeared. Mantis pushed the door open, and it led to a dark corridor lit by torches. Mantis walked inside. Raphael followed her, trying to figure out if this was the same tunnel.
Just remembering those words won't be enough, so don't try. And this path leads us to a deeper section of the forest.
Mantis seemed to have been reading his thoughts. How many doors do you have? Raphael asked.
A lot, depending on where you want to go. This place is massive, giving the wolves enough space to be themselves. Contrary to what you believe, the wolves do not stay inside all the time. They go for hunts and runs. The men go out partying inside the woods. But to achieve that, you need to accept Anthony's leadership,"
Mantis replied. You mean become his pet? Raphael scoffed.
"It's not that bad. Anthony takes care of his army,"
Mantis smiled. Don't praise a madman. Do you think the way he is siring the wolves and doing God only knows what with the humans is the right thing? Raphael grunted, limping through the tunnel. Maybe he should have taken that juice.
"I think you interpreted me that day a little wrong. Only humans can be sires. He cannot sire wolves,"
Mantis replied, surprising Raphael. If he couldn't sire a wolf, then why had Anthony brought him here? There was no other way that Anthony could force him to do his bidding. Then why am I here? Raphael grumbled as they reached the other side of the tunnel. This time Mantis effortlessly pulled the door to open it. The world outside was greener and brighter. Raphael closed his eyes, unable to take in the brightness. He blinked a few too many times before opening his eyes slowly. He walked past Mantis, basking in the sunlight. Soon Raphael realized that it was probably a setup. Under a large tree, a small basket filled with food waited for him. His stomach grumbled in hunger while Mantis laughed. This time Raphael did not make a face and just sat down to eat. Mantis sat in front of him, waiting for him to finish the food.
"Raphael, Anthony is a pureblood,"
Mantis blurted out suddenly, startling Raphael. It was too much information. Lucian had said Ida was a pureblood. He couldn't remember exactly, but he remembered Lucian mentioning that Ida had elemental powers, so that explains why Anthony could control air. Why does a pureblood need me? Isn't he too powerful already? Raphael groaned.
"He is, but it's not enough. He can only sire the men, but they can't hold him long enough. A normal wolf's body resists him, or they die in the process. And these rogues are only as strong as betas. Till now, we got an edge over the other packs because a pack can have only a few powerful warriors, while we have hundreds. But it's not enough to rule the world,"
Mantis explained. Raphael looked at her in dismay. How could someone support a person who wanted something like that? Why does he need me? Raphael sighed.
"You are the Midnight Wolf. You're the only one powerful enough who can accept the transformations,"
Mantis explained. Raphael scoffed. So Anthony thought he could sire him? No way. He'd prefer death over becoming someone's puppet. He would never harm Elsa again. If he couldn't help her in life, then he would rather die to protect her. He would never let Anthony have Elsa.
"What are you thinking? I thought you would throw a fit by now,"
Mantis chuckled. Why are you supporting him? Do you think what he's doing is right? Mantis, I can feel that you're not that bad. So why are we here? We can both escape together, Raphael proposed. Mantis's smile turned into a frown, and soon sorrow overtook any other emotion. There were countless nights she had debated over the same thing. She wanted to run away and stop this madness. The fact is, Mantis had a rough life. She was not a powerful witch like the others in her coven. The only thing she could do was make potions. They belittled her. Her parents thought that she was a shame. But Anthony saw something in her. He took her out of that place and gave her a purpose. So who was Mantis without that purpose? Nothing. Even though she wanted Anthony to stop this madness and recognize her love for him, she was helpless. There was nothing she had not tried, and nothing that had succeeded.
"He's not as bad as you think. This motive drives him. He thinks werewolves under purebloods are the most powerful. He should rule the world to make it a better place,"
Mantis sighed. There was no conviction in Mantis's face. Raphael could say Mantis didn't agree with his ways, but she would not leave him. He wondered what kind of leverage Anthony had over her. Despite being capable of escaping from this place, she was still serving him. Mantis, we can run away. With your help and my power, we can do this. Raphael tried to persuade her again.
Enough of this childishness. Anthony is more powerful than how much you give him credit for. It's in our best interest that you just accept that there is no escape from here. For your satisfaction, understand this clearly, Raphael. Anthony has not kept me here by force. I choose to stand beside him till death,
Mantis declared nonchalantly. For the first time, Mantis did not have a pleasant demeanor and a smiling face while talking. She looked irritated and stubborn. It startled Raphael to see such affiliation. He wondered if Mantis was in love with Anthony, or if he had some powerful leverage on her. Either way, it was clear that Mantis would not leave his side, no matter how much she disapproved of his ways. Why is he going after that girl? And why does he need me as his sire to get her? Isn't he all-powerful like you claim? Raphael tried to find out the other thing that irked him ever since Anthony showed Elsa's photo.
You have too many questions, but it's your lucky day. Her name is Beatrice, or at least what they call her now. We know nothing about her other than her name, and that she belongs to a nomadic pack called the Opals. She was there when a group with Anthony had attacked the Pearl Moon pack. We were waiting for the perfect chance to attack them again. It baffled all of us when she showed up in our battle with Cynthia, and defeated us with little effort,
Mantis squealed. Mantis looked over the horizon, wondering if all this was worth it. In the end, she would still be the witch making potions when Anthony would rule beside Beatrice. But maybe her kind of love needed sacrifice. If Anthony had not saved her, she would be dead a long time ago. What are you hiding? Raphael could see her dilemma. Mantis looked at Raphael. He was wiser than anyone gave him credit for. No wonder the moon goddess bestowed him with these powers, Mantis thought. Anthony would often whine about how it would have been easier for him if he was the midnight wolf. He'd said how in centuries a midnight wolf is born, and so is the child of the moon. They can bring change. She let out a deep breath.
She has access to all the elements. Anthony is yet to find to what extent she can control each of them, but it's the second time in the entire history of purebloods when one could control all elements. They generally have authority over one element. I'm not sure how you fit into the picture, but it's only you who can help Anthony get her,
Mantis explained. This baffled Raphael. Elsa looked like the moon goddess when she connected with him. If she was that powerful, then he could never let Anthony have her. He still couldn't figure out why he fitted into all this. How can someone like him fight a powerful wolf who can control more than one element? He couldn't even stand up to Anthony's powers. But he would find out, Raphael thought. And when he does, he will do whatever it takes to spoil that plan.
Let's go inside. It's already dark. And save your energy. We start for Moonlit City soon,
Mantis said to him in a grave voice. Raphael knew what Mantis meant. They were probably going to lodge a war against the Moonlit City. He hoped that Davinia and Lucian would be able to protect the city in his absence. He hoped that his pack and Lucian were looking for him. Raphael didn't protest or grunt. He knew he couldn't escape. Raphael got up and followed Mantis inside sloppily. They were soon going to go out and leave this forest. Raphael was determined to try to escape. He wondered if there was any way he could connect with Elsa. She must know what Raphael had learned about her identity. It could help her in the coming war. It could help them figure out what role he had in all of this. There was one thing he was confident about without a doubt. The moon goddess had created him to protect Elsa and help her achieve extraordinary things. He was a fool not to realize it sooner and bring about all this upon them. But there was a far more pressing issue that kept rising in his head. The common factor between Ida and Anthony was that they were purebloods with powers. He couldn't help but wonder if Lucian had some abilities too. But the thought that Elsa was a pureblood sent a shiver down his spine. Chapter 38. Silverlit. "Is the safe house ready?" Lucian queried his beta, Kieran. "Almost. A week more and we should be ready to hold the weak ones," Kieran replied. "I am afraid we don't have a week," Lucian muttered. "Why?" Kieran probed. Nothing suspicious was happening on the borders of the city. No unusual activities was going on around the city. The refugees from the Eastern Territory had also stopped flocking in. There was nothing that explained Lucian's trouble. "Believe me, Kieran, there is something off with the Black Moons. With Raphael gone, I am certain something terrible is about to happen," Lucian besieged. "Their Luna is quite capable. She killed the beast," Kieran replied. "It is their Luna that troubles me. She's evil, I know she is," Lucian said in a heavy voice, confusing Kieran. "Is the archive room open? Call Mother. She must have some news. She's been there more than anyone in centuries," Lucian ordered. Kieran nodded his head and left to look for the Alpha's mother. Lucian wanted to look through the books to know more about their history. The dagger, the sudden appearance of a single beast carrying Divinia's bracelet, Divinia herself and her powers, her interest with the dagger. Everything pointed at something bigger, but he couldn't figure out what it was. Raphael had also pointed out the similarities between Elsa and Ida. Lucian had some bedtime stories about how Ida could wield the Earth's magic. She was the one who created these dense woods and rocky hills beside their land. She was the one who made this territory a fortress. But as he grew up, he shrugged off those stories as just child's bedtime stories of a Luna so powerful that it was really impossible. But if beasts could be legitimate, then why can't her powers be? Lucian went to the archive section. It was vast for a pack that only got established a few centuries ago. They buried the history of their pack inside it, lost, waiting to get discovered.
"Son, you wanted to see me?"
Amalia, Lucian's mother, spoke. "I did, Mother. You're the only one who can help me find answers," Lucian besieged.
"What's bothering you, Lucian?" Amalia queried.
"Ida, this dagger, our history," Lucian mumbled. He was unsure what he was looking for in this chamber.
"Lucian, you know everything about Ida. I used to read her stories when you were a child," Amalia reckoned.
"You did, but is any of it true? How are we even to know?" Lucian countered.
"I do. This place has hundreds of scrolls and stories of Ida's valor. Her love for your great-great-grandfather Oliver. It tells her story of how they built this territory from nothing. That dagger you hold is so special. She made everything by wielding it and harnessing its powers. But no one since could tame it. I have seen how your father loses control over its power as you took over the position. I have seen how you lost the fight to that midnight wolf," Amalia illuminated, startling Lucian.
"How is my losing a duel related to any of this?" Lucian gasped.
"Only a midnight wolf can defeat the descendants of the moon. The moon goddess created them when her children became too selfish and power-hungry," Amalia said in a loud, clear voice, as if it was something he should already know.
"How do you know all this? Why did you not stop me from fighting then?" Lucian grumbled.
"We were not certain. It was in the scrolls, but there was nothing to prove it. A midnight wolf is only born once every century. Also, you started the duel. A silverlit never retreats,"
Amalia spoke with pride. Father was aware of it? Lucian asked.
He was like you, but with time he started believing in these scrolls and our history. There's so many unexplainable things that happen to us, Amalia explained.
Like? Lucian never realized how different they were from the others.
You age slower than others. You're immune to silver and wolfsbane. You're stronger. You're psychic even if you haven't realized it yet. And that is all I could explore with your father until now, Amalia revealed.
Oliver had these abilities? Lucian queried.
No. It started with your great-grandfather, Lucas. His twin sister was stillborn. You're aware of his history? Amalia stated.
What if she was not dead? What if they conspired a story to conceal her identity? Lucian probed. If Elsa was related to them, then maybe she was a descendant of this child. Nothing else fit. Amalia pondered over this for some time while looking for something. She was unsure what she was looking for, but there was one scroll or a page in some book where there was a minor detail about this unborn child. Amalia never paid attention to it because the child was dead, and Amalia never thought knowing more about her would be significant. When Amalia explained what she was looking for, Lucian joined the quest. It took them several hours to find the forgotten piece of information. The book was more of a journal than anything that belonged to Oliver. It had so many small, big details about Ida and her time during pregnancy. Oliver had mentioned that Ida was worried about someone named Anthony. She was so scared that she wanted to run away. Her condition deteriorated, and Oliver wanted her to abort the babies, but Ida had them anyway. The journal mentions nothing after that, except for a single note that was made almost a decade or more after the birth. It was the most beautiful day of my life. Apart from that day, I had stumbled upon Ida. It was almost so similar that I couldn't believe my luck. I never imagined in my wildest dreams that I could live to see the day with my own eyes. The little princess looks exactly like her mother. She has blue eyes just like mine. It was amazing how she could wield Earth's power just like her mother. But she's not strong enough to face Anthony, and she must remain hidden. It pains me to live separated from her, but I am glad life gave me another chance to steal a moment with my precious moon. It mentioned a secret meeting with a beautiful, blue-eyed girl with powers like Ida. But the description got ambiguous in the later parts. It could be two women he met, one could be a princess and the other the moon. Or it could be the same girl named Moon. Whatever it was Ida or the princess everyone assumed to be dead till now, or both. They were hiding from someone called Anthony. Mother, I must tell you something. You cannot tell anyone of this, Lucian asked.
What is it? Amalia queried.
Raphael's mate looks like Ida. I'm not sure, but she could be a descendant of Ida, Lucian whispered.
What?
Amalia shrieked in surprise, but Lucian motioned for her to keep quiet. It had to stay between them. I'm not sure. Raphael has said that the Red Moon Pack found Elsa abandoned near their borders during the last war. She was a small child, crying and looking for help. What if she and her parents were coming here? What if they finally found a way to defeat whatever it was they were hiding from for so long? Or what if they had warded it off? Even worse, what if they needed our help? I strongly believe Elsa is a descendant of Ida. She is a pureblood. Also, these beasts are after a pureblood. Something tells me it's her they want, Lucian grumbled.
Are you even sure of what you're speaking? How could this even be possible?
It startled Amalia. I am, Mother. What Raphael describes of Elsa resembles Moon Goddess to me. Pale skin, silver eyes, silver long hair. I'm certain now that just like Ida and her child, Elsa can wield elements. And that's why these beasts are after her, Lucian expressed. It bewildered Amalia. It was too much information to process, and there was no way she was going to keep it from her husband, but if she tells him, she would betray her son's trust.
"Can I tell your father, please?"
Amalia begged. It would be too much of a burden to keep it to herself. Lucian nodded his head in agreement. He knew it would be a cruel thing to stop her from sharing all this with her husband. Also, her father was a wise alpha who couldn't help him in the challenging situation. Lucian stayed in the archive to find more information. He learned a little more about the dagger and its powers. Lucian was positive by now that the dagger must have destroyed the magical spell on Davinia's bracelet. He also found out that 3 more such daggers existed, each dagger representing one of the 4 elements: earth, air, water, fire. The one in Lucian's possession was the earth dagger. They were 4 parts of the sword of the moon goddess's first descent. It was too powerful together, so her 4 children, who had control over separate elements, broke it into 4 parts after their mother left it for them. Each dagger can counterattack the other. The daggers were only as strong as the person wielding them. It depended on the wielder who would win eventually. Only a midnight wolf or a blessed one could wield all of them together to make a weapon that could kill a pureblood. Divided, they could only injure the purebloods fatally. Lucian wanted to know more about his lineage. He was also a descendant of Ida, so it made him a pureblood technically. He craved to find more about him, or if he could wield any element. He was looking for more information when a battle horn was heard loud and clear. He'd been blocking everyone all this while. Lucian hissed under his breath as he ran toward the tower. The safe house was still not ready. His heart weighed seeing a lot of wolves running towards their territory. They were mostly from the packs of the northern borders. Perhaps their first line of defense had already fallen. He was unsure if he could save them all, but he had no choice. His territory was the safest. Also, he'd promised to help them in this battle. It's just that he hadn't expected it to be so soon.
"What happened, Kieran?"
Lucian reached his beta through the pack link.
"I'm not sure, but a lot of distress calls were coming in from all the other packs of the northern border. Our patrols from the northern border are returning. They're so scared that whatever they're saying makes little sense. We're waiting for them near the northern borders," Kieran relayed. "Shit. What about Travis, Davinia, Riker, Seth, Manga, and all the others? All the alphas must fight together,"
Lucian groaned. Lucian didn't wait for his beta's reply. He called up all the alphas. Everyone except Davinia responded. He always knew there was something odd about her, so instead of wasting time on her, he connected with Jander. But Jander, too, didn't pick up the phone. Nothing made sense. But he couldn't abandon the entire city for one pack and its internal messy affairs in such a dire situation. All the leaders agreed to meet at the end of the northern pack's borders. Lucian left, leaving the defense to the Silverlit borders to Kirian. No one could describe what happened to the surrounding city, but whatever it was, it made them flee from there in every direction, in the hope of survival and help. But they were so frightened that they couldn't explain a thing that made any sense. Finally, a Silverlit wolf made it into their territory. He was the single living one. He was trembling with fear, panting and gasping for air. It was as if he'd seen a ghost. He was pale, like something drew all the air from his chest. He took his sweet time before he could gather some strength to answer their questions.
"What happened, Gab?"
Lucian demanded through the pack link.
"Beasts. Hundreds and thousands of them. The rogues look demonic, and with them there's this man. He's sucking the air out of every living being. He's making crazy things like tornadoes or intoxicating the air that we're breathing. How do we fight this force? No one will be alive. He'll kill all of us."
Gab cowered. It made many wolves squeal in fear.
"Who is he? Did he say a name or what he is?" Lucian probed.
"Anthony," Gab spluttered, as if speaking the name would turn him into ashes. Lucian gawked at that. How could it be possible? Wasn't Anthony the person of whom Ida was hiding? Why was he here? Did this Anthony find out about Elsa?
So many questions arose in Lucian's mind, but he had little time to find the answers. Lucian had an impending battle to fight, and his only hope remained with the opals. He must protect the city until then. The dagger shimmered in his hand, as invisible writing written in gold seemed to glitter into existence. Potestas terrae, power of earth. Lucian was unsure what he did to trigger this. He'd never seen the dagger awaken like this. It was as if it had a life of its own. It could be his overwhelming emotions because of all the information and everything happening, the need to fight, or his determination to save the city. But Lucian was finally wielding the Earth Dagger, like a true descendant of Ida for the first time in centuries. Chapter 39. Power of Earth.
"What the hell, Lucian?"
Travis exclaimed while his eyes widened in surprise. He'd never seen anything like this before. It was straight from the storybooks he'd read. Lucian ignored Travis along with every other bewildered eye. It surprised him, too. But it was like the dagger had established a weird connection with him somehow. He could feel it and its powers. As if he knew what he was doing, Lucian marched toward the northern side of the city. It baffled him that he was following something that might not be his instinct altogether. While hundreds of wolves fleeted to the south, Lucian kept marching through the crowds towards the invaders. Lucian stopped when he finally reached the borders of the last unclaimed pack at the northern side. He tried to gain some composure. The air not far from where he was standing was dusty and black, filled with smoke. Dead bodies laid everywhere his eyes reached. He wondered who was so powerful that they would be able to do this in such a short time. Honestly, the sight scared him. But he didn't have the luxury to panic and run away. He was the only one who was powerful enough to put on a fight, even though he still needed an army. Lucian sighed when more forces joined him. Gab, along with the Silverlet's best fighters, were the first to reach him, and soon other packs joined. It was only the Black Moon who were missing. It raised everyone's suspicion, but now was not the time to discuss it. For all they knew, the Black Moon could have already fallen against the attackers' powers. The Black Moons shared the borderline with the Eastern Territory. "What's the plan?" Manga asked. He had the heart of a hero, despite being an alpha of a relatively humbler pack.
"I don't know, but I am sure this dagger knows what to do," Lucian whispered. "That dagger has some old inscription on it," Travis spoke, coming forward. He was the one who was standing nearest to Lucian when it started glowing, showing off its earlier invisible texts.
"I don't understand it," Lucian replied. They were losing time, and he had no interest in satisfying Travis's curiosity.
"Show it to me,"
Travis demanded. Lucian sighed. Travis had always been a self-centered jerk. Travis would never let him get through this work, or even think through what he needed to do if he didn't first show him the dagger.
"Here."
Lucian forwarded it towards Travis. When Travis touched the dagger, he recoiled in pain. It burned his fingers because of the contact with the silver. He, and everyone else there except the Silverlets, couldn't understand what was happening. They all had one question in their mind. How was Lucian holding this magical silver knife without getting hurt?
"How?"
Travis murmured.
"I don't know. Nor do I have time to find out. I'm going inside. Wait for me," Lucian snarled. "Wait. That dagger carried the power of the earth. It will protect our land from evil if you can wield it wisely,"
Travis retorted, gaining Lucian's interest. Who knew a selfish man like him could be so knowledgeable?
"How do you know?"
Lucian demanded.
"The inscription is in Latin, meaning the power of the earth. Even though it's hard to believe, I am a history geek,"
Travis snickered. Lucian scoffed. The information was useless because Travis didn't know about how to use it. He was again about to leave to confront the enemy beyond the borderline when Travis called out for him. Lucian fizzled this time.
"Why don't you connect it with the earth and see what happens?
I might be wrong, but it's worth trying, Travis suggested. Lucian didn't want to waste any more time, but Travis's words made sense to him. Also, he felt like the dagger was asking him the same thing. Lucian looked at Travis for the second time before penetrating the dagger through the land in which they were standing. Nothing happened while everyone kept watching, waiting for some miracle to happen and save them all. But nothing. Lucian was getting impatient. He cursed something under his breath. He was about to lift the dagger and go back to implement his original plan when Manga stopped him. The dagger's sharp edges cut through Lucian as he howled in pain. It was nothing like a typical cut. It looked the same, but the pain was tenfolds more, and it differed from the pain he should get by touching silver. Ripples of trauma washed through his body as he screeched and screamed while writhing on the floor. Manga and the others got scared, unable to understand the thing that was happening right in front of them. A few even charged Manga for hurting Lucian. But then something even weirder happened. Lucian stopped screaming or yelling. He sat beside the dagger, appearing as calm as Mother Earth. His now red eyes looked as ferocious as Mother Earth's fury. A protective shield formed around the area, preventing anything and everything from crossing it. "What's happening to him?" Gab squealed. "I don't know. Maybe the dagger is drawing energy from him to shield us. Maybe this layer is as strong as him," Travis stated. Had he seen nothing like that? Things happening right now inside Moonlit City were beyond logic or what anyone had ever seen. Stories of power, elemental daggers, and purebloods were so old that most people believed them to be children's stories. But it was happening right in front of them, while they stood there as mute spectators. "Lucian, it might kill you," Travis proclaimed with fear. Lucian was turning a little paler. Probably creating that shield took half of his energy. "I will be fine. Someone check on the Black Moons. Something is terribly wrong with them, I can feel it," Lucian said in an unusually calm voice. Lucian was determined to stand for his city, his people, even if it cost him his life. He hoped the opals reached here fast enough before he was dead. He probably could hold on a few more hours at max. But soon a loud thud echoed through the surroundings, grabbing everyone's attention. The enemy was trying to barge inside in large numbers. They were attacking it with brutal force. Even when they perished upon contact with the barrier, they kept coming for it like flies. "I can't hold them off for very long if they keep attacking like that," Lucian grumbled, trying with all of his might to hold them off. Suddenly he felt like a rush of energy when a firm hand gripped his, then weaker ones. He looked back to see his father. Of course his father was the previous bearer of the sword. But soon, more and more strength soaked through him as more Silverlets joined forces. The other alphas and warriors present joined the link to form a wolf chain. It increased the stability of the wall while giving Lucian enough strength to hold it for the city. His hope now laid with the opals. Soon the alphas would spread word across the city. More and more wolves appeared to create a chain, linking their powers and strength, passing it to Lucian, until the threat emerged from inside, terrifying everyone to the core.
They form a shield protecting the city. If I understand it well, it's oozing from the essence of the Earth Dagger.
Mantis ran to Anthony's side. Raphael burst into a peal of laughter, irritating Anthony. Anthony had tried to sire Raphael after he'd taken food, but nothing happened. Anthony's fragile ego didn't allow him to accept that he failed miserably to sire the Midnight Wolf with no help from the girl with the opals. Only she was powerful enough to tame this wolf, while he was powerful enough to win against her.
Mantis had tried to explain this several times to Anthony, but he denied its possibility every single time. He rallied that it was probably due to Mantis's inability. Mantis tried working on a potion for years, but she could not perfect it without that ingredient. Only a drop of blood from that special girl could help Mantis create the formula. They'd given Raphael Wolfsbane and tied him with silver chains. Anthony was hoping for Raphael to pass out, but he was stronger than that. Despite the pain, he was still standing on his legs, taunting him for his failures. When Anthony was able to barge inside the territory with ease, along with his large army of beasts and rogues, it startled Raphael. He got restless and tried to break free. If not for Wolfsbane and Silver, he would have probably escaped by now. Anthony didn't lose a single opportunity to admonish him. So when he was failing, it was natural for Raphael to taunt him back. Anthony knew he could topple down the wall in seconds. All he needed to do was ask Davinia to launch an attack from inside and weaken the barrier. But that would be against his actual plan. So he tried to send in his minions, beasts, and rogues to break the wall while he used his powers to crack through it. The wall was about to collapse, or at least crack, before it suddenly became stronger. The wall was never a part of the plan. Anthony couldn't understand how someone from Moonlit City could wield the Earth Dagger. It belonged to Ida, but he couldn't find it with her the day he had had to kill her. So he had assumed that Ida had either destroyed it or kept it hidden like the other missing daggers. It baffled Anthony that there was a successor of Ida in the Moonlit City all this while. It enraged him that it didn't come to his notice. He grumbled at Davinia's failures. What worried him was the strength of this person had to put into such a formidable defensive line. For a split second it occurred to him that it was probably the Opal girl protecting them. But if that was so, then he should be able to feel her. After all, blood now bonded them. Raphael was having a great time seeing Anthony's dilemma and struggling face. He was not sure himself how this wall had emerged from nowhere. The last time he left the city, he was utterly unaware of magical abilities. But now, it was becoming a routine affair. First with Anthony, then Mantis, and now this magical wall protecting his moonlit city. He too wondered if it was Elsa trying to save their city, but he brushed off that thought. If he could trace her leftover essence in Pearl Moon territory, then he should have picked it up by now if she was here.
"Who do you have inside wielding the Earth Dagger?" Anthony whined.
Raphael smirked. So it was Lucian and his dagger. He had doubts about Lucian, but if this shield was from some magical dagger, then it had to be Lucian. He was a descendant of Ida, so maybe he'd found more about his powers in his absence. Raphael's grin became even fuller with this understanding. That irked Anthony. He couldn't lose this battle when he was so close. Anthony tried to link Davinia while a vicious smile appeared upon his face, sending a chill down Raphael's spine. He frowned, seeing Anthony's confident, vile smile. It hinted that he might know a way to break down the wall. It tore his insides to stand there helpless while Anthony tried to finish everything they built for this city.
"What took you so long?"
Anthony growled.
"The Black Moon. They are not an easy pack to tame or defeat, but foolish enough to fall for my tricks. I've taken care of them. Everyone, including their beta, is now in dungeons."
Davinia smirked.
"Stupid girl! There is something more powerful in your city. They have the Earth Dagger, and someone has wielded it to create a barrier preventing me from entering," Anthony groaned.
"What? You said all 4 daggers were lost and destroyed. It must be Lucian from the Silverlit pack. He had a strange silver dagger," Davinia gasped.
"You stupid girl! Why didn't you tell me this earlier?" Anthony snapped.
"How would I know? I've never seen one,"
Davinia rebuked. It should be her who should be angry. Her father had said to her that all 4 daggers were lost, so she never suspected it to be such a powerful dagger.
"You foolish girl! Now you have to fight him from inside and weaken him," Anthony ordered.
Davinia was unwilling to follow those orders. She was not yet ready to reveal her true nature or her true identity. But if she did not use her powers now, there might never be a tomorrow to give them such an opportunity. Davinia rolled her eyes, walking outside the Black Moon cells. She marched, killing off anything and anyone that came before her. Chapter 40. Battle Cry.
"What is happening? Why is the chain broken?"
Travis groaned at Seth, who came running towards him, gasping for air. Lucian would have a hard time maintaining the shield all alone for long. It was almost dawn. He had to keep the shield on till the opals arrived. They should reach here any time now if they were on their way as planned. He wanted to ask more, but he was saving his energy. Even though the chain gave him strength, the dagger was mainly drawing its powers from him. If he had a single bit of remaining doubt about being a descendant from a pure-blood Ida, it was gone. He wondered if all Silverlit Alphas had this power hidden in their blood, and they ignored it for all these years.
"It's Davinia. She's gone berserk. She's ripping out guts while we're trying to protect the city. It looks like the beast infected her, but she's just more powerful. 100 times more," Seth panted.
Seth had seen the beast up close and knew what it was capable of. But what Davinia was up to, even 10 beasts couldn't do together. She was making dead bodies rain as wolves died like insects. For some, their veins burst open, while others, the blood was being squeezed out of their hearts. From nowhere, water icicles and blades were appearing, piercing through the body of wolves. Davinia's eyes glistened with blue rings. One glimpse of her could shake you to the core. She looked like evil herself.
"The Black Moons have gone mad. Raphael has abandoned us yet again, and his Luna has gone mad. Maybe it was their plan all along to defeat us all and take over Moonlit City," Travis grumbled.
The Black Moon pack was nowhere to be seen ever since the Moonlit City woke up to the battle cry. Every pack, no matter how big or how small, had sent their best heroes, while their Lunas were helping in the evacuation and safety of the weaker ones, except for Black Moon. And now Seth comes in with such a damning state of information, how Davinia had gone evil? It couldn't be a coincidence.
"Where are the others of Black Moon pack? What about Jander?"
Lucian growled, biting his teeth. "They're nowhere to be seen. Maybe they all fled, or perhaps they're all dead. No one's seen them," Seth confirmed. Lucian let out a loud growl full of dominance and rage. He'd always doubted Davinia. That bracelet should have been enough for him to understand that she was not a hero that day. She was the villain. He was in a difficult situation. The anger was draining from him even faster, but he couldn't control it. Also, he could be there in one place, either ensuring the shield or fighting Davinia. More wolves came running towards them, while the chain rapidly became weaker and weaker. Blood oozed out of Lucian's nose as the pressure increased for him to hold the barrier. The way the battle was coming to where he was right now was enough of an alarm to notify him where Davinia was headed towards currently. Either way, death was approaching for him. Lucian growled one more time, giving up on the fear of death. If he was going to die today, he would rather die saving his city.
"Fight her,"
Lucian ordered. The Alphas, Betas, and the first line of fighters were unsure, looking at each other. They were the last few partaking in that chain. Gammas, Deltas, and Omegas had already fallen. When Davinia finally made her way to where Lucian was present, she burst into a peal of evil laughter. Lucian looked at her with anger and frustration. Helplessness washed over him because he couldn't leave the dagger and fight her.
"What are you?" Lucian snarled.
"A wolf. A very, very, very powerful wolf,"
Davinia snickered wickedly. Lucian scoffed, pissing off Davinia.
"You think otherwise?"
Davinia clucked, killing off a nearby wolf.
His veins burst as blood started oozing out from everywhere, until there was nothing but blood. It was gross to look at, even for a wolf. Davinia glared at Lucian to see his reactions. She would not get tired of killing a few more just to prove her point. "You are an obnoxious, self-centered wolf," Lucian scorned. It enraged Davinia so much that she lost the ability to think. She created hundreds of icicles and blades of water. She indeed wanted to keep Lucian alive for interrogation, to know more about the Earth Dagger, but all she could see at that time was red. All she could think and want was to kill Lucian. When the water weapons of Davinia moved towards Lucian with great speed, fighters of Silverlit rushed to his aid, but it passed through the ones who made it in time with ease. Everyone had lost hope when the icicles and water blades were a few inches away from Lucian. His father almost charged towards Davinia with fury. Suddenly, a substantial amount of light radiated from Lucian, throwing away anything and everything near him. The water weapons melted at its grandiosity. Davinia was thrown off meters away. No one could understand what happened for a second. "The wall!" Riker was the first to recover from the shock. The alphas, betas, warriors, and remaining wolves tried to come out of what was still happening and focus on the broken shield. Lucian was standing, holding the dagger. When they looked clearly, they knew that it was the dagger that was glowing, not Lucian. They didn't have the luxury to watch the event. The enemy outside the wall was far too great. Davinia spit a chunk of blood and groaned. The sudden outburst of energy hit her hard. She couldn't remember when was the last time that she'd felt this much pain. She chuckled at that. After so long, she was going to enjoy a fight. Clearly that dagger was protecting its bearer at all costs, above all. Lucian was unsure of what was happening. He should not have done that. Removing the dagger meant the wall was down. The opals were yet to reach them. Davinia had killed a lot of wolves, single-handedly, allowing the beasts outside to destroy the city entirely. But he had this tremendous urge to kill Davinia. It was like the dagger had a will of its own. It was not going to rest till Davinia was dead. The only thing that mattered to the dagger, hence to Lucian, was Davinia and her death. While the fighters of Moonlit City took the front line, Lucian walked towards Davinia, who was still struggling to stand. But that vile smile on her face seethed Lucian. He walked to her slowly, with every step the urge to kill her increasing tenfold. But before he could attack her, Davinia suddenly rushed at him with an insane speed, startling Lucian. She was holding a sword of ice. He was sure he was going to die when he couldn't dodge her attack, but it surprised him to find that he was able to hold her attack. Unbeknownst to him, the hand holding the dagger had moved and managed to slice off the sword protecting him. When the realization dawned on Davinia, it was already too late. Lucian kicked her knees, making her fall. He punched her back hard, making her spit more blood. Lucian grinned as Davinia groaned in pain. Seeing Lucian's strength, the nearby wolves hooted. The impulse drew Lucian to kill her, but when she burst into a loud, sinister laugh, pointing towards the wall, it startled him. When the wall completely broke, Anthony was the one standing in the front. He was curious to meet the one who could wield the Earth Dagger. Behind him, hundreds of beasts and rogues rallied, but what caught everyone's attention was a feeble-looking Raphael. They kept him inside a cage of silver walls. They tied him with strong silver chains. The smell of wolfsbane was pretty strong. Many couldn't even fathom how Raphael was able to handle all of that and still be alive. Raphael was looking with disappointment. He was unsure what was happening inside, but the wall had given him hope. But when their eyes landed on the glowing figure and an exhausted Davinia, surprise washed through them. Anthony couldn't understand what could have been powerful enough to put her in such a situation. Davinia was a prodigy, but clearly she was struggling to even breathe now. The one standing above her would have certainly killed her by now had the shield not vanished at that very moment. Raphael was unsure why someone would want to kill Davinia. He wondered if it was the glowing figure that was Lucian,
and if it was the reason behind why the shield wall collapsed. He tried to find Jander or any Black Moon member, but there was no one except for Davinia, who was gravely wounded. "Who are you?" Anthony's voice echoed throughout the area. "Get out of my land before I kill you all!" Lucian growled. Anthony broke into a burst of loud demonic laughter, as if Lucian had cracked some child's joke. He pulled out his dagger from his pocket. It was a similar-looking dagger, but it wasn't as fancy as Lucian's. "If you think you are invincible because of that, then you're wrong," Anthony boomed. Davinia's eyes widened at that. Her father had hidden such an important fact from her. "Then fight," Lucian boasted. Anthony scoffed at that. He rocked his head as he charged towards Lucian. Lucian, unaware of what he was heading towards, ran to meet Anthony in the midway. But before Lucian could even reach for Anthony, he fell with a thud like a lifeless body. When only a few meters were left, Anthony could suck out the air out of Lucian's lungs with no difficulty. The only protection the boy had was the dagger. No magic ran in the boy's body to shield him or fight with Anthony's magic. It was a piece of cake, unlike what Anthony had originally thought. Honestly, Anthony was disappointed at this. The fight was over even before it had begun. The only thing he couldn't understand was why would Ida's dagger answer to someone so powerless like Lucian? He was not even worth Ida's kitchen knife. The valiant woman couldn't be so foolish. Davinia smirked at her father's victory. Even though her secret was out, it was only a matter of a few seconds now. The moonlit city had only one shot in the form of Lucian. But he was going to die any minute now, if not already. They all have to bow to her. She stole a glance at Raphael, who looked at her with confusion. It baffled Davinia to see that Raphael was not yet sired. Obviously they'd failed. His father was oh so good to keep her wishes before him. It dawned on Raphael that probably Davinia was the only one who was behind everything. The fear that appeared in the eyes of the moonlit wolves after Lucian's failure cleared any doubt Raphael had. They were depending on him. Raphael groaned at that. He couldn't let this vicious man take his city right before his eyes. "Your leader is my captive. Your hope is under my feet. I have not given this opportunity to anyone before, but today I am happy. I have finally found the second dagger that belonged to my beloved once. So bow to me, and my daughter here. Promise me your allegiance, and I will spare you all." Anthony boomed. His voice had dominance and conviction. It was enough to demand respect, and it boasted of power and strength. Even though Raphael grunted, screamed, and yelled, he was helpless. Teardrops escaped from Lucian's eyes as he struggled to breathe. Their city was slipping away. Defeating them looked like a far impossible memory. The alphas and betas exchanged looks. They knew they didn't have any way out but to surrender if they wanted to live to see another day. Either they could die like a hero or live like a coward. "Over our dead bodies," Manga protested. He was the first one to resist the idea of bowing. Soon others followed him, while Anthony looked on at them amusingly. They were all going to die like petty insects. The wolves of Moonlit accepted their fate, while Anthony chuckled. Before anyone could lodge the first attack, they heard a loud battle siren. It was the Opals. Chapter 41. He owed it to her to live. A rich scent of lavender and roses filled the air. The wolf inside Raphael growled. It was over 2 years since Jera had seen his mate. The fact that he'd never have time to connect with Ayla tore him apart. All these years Jera had to retreat and suppress himself in misery. His human, Raphael, was the one driving them both until now.
but the presence of Elsa was enough to awaken the beast inside. Raphael shifted with no warning. It startled most of the wolves present there, including Anthony, to see the magnificent midnight wolf. Despite being under the influence of wolfsbane and the silver chains, he shifted, breaking all barriers.
"How is that possible? He's not a pureblood," Davinia rumbled, recovering from shock.
Distraction for Anthony to forget all about Lucian and his control over him. Lucian took advantage of the situation when he felt a lot better after he could breathe freely. With the help of Gab, Lucian left the war zone to recover so that he could come back for more. Lucian wanted to fight alongside the Moonlit packs and the Opals, or perhaps check on the Midnight Wolf who broke the silver chains, but his life was more precious at the moment. Jera growled inside the cage. The only thing between him and Elsa was this silver cage. He had several bruises because of the effects of silver, but he didn't care. He wanted to be near his mate. Everyone looked at his magnificent wolf in awe. A lot of Moonlit people had seen the Midnight Black Wolf before, but today was different. He was bigger and ruthless. When the Opals finally reached the battle scene, the crowd from either side broke into murmurs and shootings. In the front line stood 3 wolves in their human form. A very handsome man stood in the middle with a biker's jacket. He could give a tough competition to the Moonlit heartthrobs Raphael and Lucian, with his dirty blonde hair and intense light brown eyes. A small, petite woman with red hair stood on his left side. She looked like a badass with all of her weapons and the leather suit. And finally, a girl with silver eyes and long hair stood on the right side of the handsome man. The third girl was so pale that it puzzled the crowd if she was sick or glistening under the sunlight. Only vampires could have such pale skin. But one thing was obvious, that this girl had a powerful aura. Their presence was itself a game changer. Anthony stood there unfazed, soaking in Elsa's image in his memory. He'd waited centuries for this moment. Even though Anthony had not planned this, maybe it was for the best. He would have the Moonlit City and his Luna in one shot. This girl was dumb enough to walk up to him unprepared. Was she so arrogant and naive as to think only her powers could kill him? He wondered if she even knew what she was walking into madness. No one is born that strong. It's why he was looking for the Luna and the Midnight Wolf. Anthony had the power of air, plus the dagger of the moon goddess's descent. Anthony turned back, looking for Lucian. He'd completely forgotten about him and the Earth Dagger. Having both daggers would make it easy enough for him to win the battle. But when he found the ground empty where Lucian was lying a while ago, Anthony hissed. The predominant scent of citrus and musk engulfed Elsa. She knew it was Raphael. Her heart started pounding when she realized that Raphael was near. It was such a long wait. The feeling that they would finally meet face to face overwhelmed her. She didn't have a single moment when she didn't imagine this meeting ever since she left Cynthia. She thought she was prepared and ready to face him. But when it was about to come true, her heart was behaving frantically. Jera growled. He wanted to go near his mate, hold her, and bask in her fragrance. But these silver walls were not helping him. He let out a loud howl, summoning all the strength in his body. In a flash second, he broke the cage door and plunged towards the earth where Elsa was standing. "Is he your mate?" Noah whispered. He was in splits. Noah had foreseen this moment for a long time now. He was not a child and understood what Elsa's heart craved. No matter how much Noah tried, her heart always yearned for Raphael. When Elsa didn't answer but kept looking straight towards the Midnight Black Wolf approaching in their direction, Noah understood he was right. Elsa's eyes watered. She didn't want to feel those tyrannical emotions that were choking at her heart right now. She wanted to discuss this more privately, and not with everyone watching them. She needed to confront Raphael, but nothing was going as planned. Her body had a mind of its own, and it was dragging her to him. How could she forgive him like this? How can she forget everything he did because now he was attempting something like this? And in the middle of a battle? Anthony grumbled something unintelligible, trying to summon his powers. But Jera was fast enough to dodge his attacks, or maybe it didn't work as well. Whatever it was, he moved steadily towards Elsa. When Anthony's powers didn't work the way he wanted, he knew he must get closer. He disappeared into thin air before reappearing near Jera, but this time he was in his wolf form. Anthony's wolf was white like Elsa's, but it had light brown fur spread throughout its body. It was huge. It was either bigger or at least the same size as that of Raphael's wolf. Anthony plunged at the right moment, making Jera fall along with him. Both the wolves rolled to the ground, unclear who was winning over whom, until Jera started coughing for air, shifting to his human, while Anthony, in his human form, smirked at his victory. Raphael was bleeding from his abdomen. It angered Elsa in ways that she wasn't even sure was possible. It was one thing that she had some unresolved issues with Raphael, but no one, absolutely no one, should be able to hurt her mate. In a flash, she changed into her white, magnificent wolf, Ayla, in mid-air. Ayla growled, lunging an attack at Anthony. But Anthony was fast. He swiftly moved away, resulting in Ayla falling on her chest. Anthony quickly stabbed the dagger at Elsa, wounding her, but unlike how he'd assumed, Elsa's wound was healing rather fast. But how would anyone know under all that blood? When Anthony came near Elsa to check on her wolf, she flipped and bit his arm, mortally wounding him in the process. Anthony grumbled in pain. It was nothing he couldn't recover, but it was enough distraction for Ayla to carry Raphael's body and take him to a more secure place. Elsa wasn't sure if she could do this, but she needed to try to heal him. Raphael was bleeding, and it could be fatal if not stopped in time. The opals surrounded Elsa and Raphael, while Noah led them to the front. Beasts and rogues from Anthony's pack charged toward the Moonlit packs, and the opals in every direction. They were still in large numbers compared to Moonlit's warriors and the opals. Davinia took charge of the fight against the Moonlit, while Anthony was leading the fight against the opals. For some reason, ever since Elsa appeared, Anthony's powers were not as effective as they were a while ago. "Mantis!" Anthony reached out to his witch.
"Yes?" Mantis replied, panicked. She was not expecting such a brutal fight.
"Why are my powers not working? I can only control the air nearby," Anthony queried.
"I don't know for sure, but it could be that girl Elsa's aura or essence in the surrounding air, which is more dominating than yours. You must knock her down or make her weak to win this war," Mantis suggested.
While Anthony and his army penetrated through the layers of opals, Noah and Kira did everything in their ability to hold. But the biggest help came in the form of Lucian, who was feeling much better now. It was probably the earth dagger that had helped him recover faster. Elsa went into some sort of trance mode. She took Raphael's hand in her hand while trying to reach his wolf. His breathing was slowing down, but she was not ready to give up hope. It took her a while, but Ayla was finally able to recreate the illusion world. But this time, it was Jera and not Raphael. "Is that you, my mate?" Jera whispered. He was weak.
"I am."
Ayla nodded her head calmly. "You are beautiful. Raphael was dumb to let go of this chance. I wish I had more time. I have so much to tell you," Jera rumbled.
"We still have time to talk, but you have to fight. I know you can,"
Ayla encouraged. "I want to, but it's so painful and dark here. Please help me." Jera did not shy away from reaching for help.
"Hold my hands."
Ayla transformed into Elsa. Elsa extended her hands towards Jera. She patted his dark fur while he purred. They stayed like that for a while, until Jera transformed into Raphael. He looked pale and weak, as if he could die at any moment. But despite that,
His signature smirk rolled off of his ailing face. He was so fragile that he stumbled with that. Elsa held him on her lap and brushed his hair. There was no exchange of words, but there was a weird understanding between them. They'd not met for years, and how they separated was so ugly. But now that they were able to be close, it kind of gave both of them some peace. "I've dreamt of this so many times, in so many places and so many ways, but this was never one of them. But I don't have any regret. I can die in peace if you forgive me. I have seen you one last time." Raphael struggled to speak. Elsa quickly changed the illusion from that white space to the waterfall where they had felt each other's presence for the first time, the very place where they kissed for the first time. She was unsure why she picked this particular place, but it was the only place in Moonlit City where she had some happy memories.
I dare you to wake up and fight beside me. I promise I'll forgive you if you don't die on me today.
A teardrop slipped from Elsa's eyes, and she didn't know what she was holding. Raphael had difficulty raising his hand, but he did it. How could he let her cry? "I want to live, Elsa. I want to live with you," Raphael yelped.
You are my mate. The powers I have are yours too. I'm sure we can figure this out,"
Elsa said with determination sparkling in her eyes. Elsa wasn't sure if it would work. They hadn't marked each other yet, so there should be no link. But their relationship had always been unique. They could sense each other before even meeting face to face. They felt the pull instantly. They could feel each other's pain when they were hundreds of miles apart. They could connect when they were in their lowest times, and now they were so close. So what could stop them?
"Why is she crying?"
Kira muttered, unsure of what was happening. Ever since Elsa went into that trance mode, she was illuminating strange lights. They tried to wake her up, but she was giving away electric shocks to whoever touched her or Raphael. So they had no other option but to stay close and let her do whatever she was trying to achieve. Kira just hoped Elsa was faster. "I'm not sure," Noah grunted. He hated where he was right now. He had this feeling that he'd already lost Elsa. The way she looked at Raphael, she had never seen him like that. Then, suddenly, the lights stopped as Elsa came out of her trance. She coughed some blood as sweat beads formed on her forehead and neck. It drew Noah, Kira, Lucian, and a few wolves' attention towards her. They were close enough to miss it. Elsa shook Raphael's body aggressively as tears started to roll from her face. His heartbeat was fading, but she couldn't understand what went wrong. She only came out of it when she was sure he was going to make it. She growled and cried in pain for Raphael. She was shocked. There was no way she was going to lose her mate like that. He owed her explanations. He owed her for 2 years. He owed her love. He owed her to live.